So I would be speaking on the ethics and metaphysics of the imperatives in Dvaita philosophy. It is a co-authored paper, so I have my colleague Vidwan Vishnu with me. So he would be speaking the last 7 minutes. So he would be speaking in Sanskrit about the problems in the fruition part of it. So it was kind of provocative, the previous lecture was, so it actually shifted my certain thoughts from this paper, what I wanted to do. The concern of ethics has been, the word itself says it's a scientific study of ethos. So what is it that the ethos care about? Does it care about, as the Platonic world spoke of, the virtuous character, or does it speak about the duty, that what the deontological problem what Kant puts forward, or does it care about the end result of an action? So what does it care about? So how Tattvavada or Dvaita philosophy, which was propounded by Ananda Tirtha or Acharya Madhva, who hailed from Udupi, where right now I am working, the Manipal University is located. So we have also an exclusive Dvaita center. My colleague is the associate coordinator for the center. So what the Dvaita philosophy or Tattvavada speaks about action or Karya or Akarya. Of course we all know it very well. The whole day many people have referred to it as the Krishna himself very much suggests in the chapter 4th, Kim karma kimakarmeti kavayo petra mohitaha, and akarmanascha bodhavyam karmanascha bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha karmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. So he has spoken that it's not so easy to understand what is Karya. So the word Karya, linguistically speaking, it opens up two dimensions. One, as an effect in causality. In another sense, that's from a metaphysical standpoint. In another sense, the same, if that there is an agent behind that effect, then it opens up the ethical paradigm also. So in case of if there is in the case of ethical paradigm, how do I know what should be done, what should not be done? So both of them are actually, in a way, one of you also asked this question, what is the difference between the do and the don't? Both of them in a way are the do's only. If I say you don't do it, means you do the opposite of it. You don't engage in it. Okay. So how do I know what should be done and what not to be done? How do I know what is the imperative? So Krishna, as again people quoted today, Tasmat Shastram Pramanante Karya Karya Vyavastito. Why Shastra is Pramana? If Shastra is not Pramana, then what happens is that you won't accomplish anything. That is what Krishna has already told, Nasasiddhi Mavapnoti Nasukam Naparangati. But it is very difficult to understand what is action, because in Mahabharata itself it says Dharmasya Vachanam Shreyaha Dharma Jnanam tu Dushkaram. It's easy to speak about you do this, you don't do this and all, but realizing it metaethically, understanding what is an action is really a very difficult task. I already lost 4 minutes, so I have to skip a lot of portions. Also, Arjuna has this question, is that if you are saying the entire Dvaita tradition, such as Raghavendra Tirtha Swami and others, have explicitly commented on this part in Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna says, Durena Hyavarang Karma Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya. Avaram means the path of action is somewhere, as most of the Vedanta scholars have interpreted, is somewhere path of action is somewhere inferior compared to path of knowledge. But actually the Dvaita tradition does not vouch for this view, is that, say, everyone has this desire of liberation. What do we call liberation, salvation, emancipation, mukti, moksha, nirvana, apavarga and all? What is that? It's only two things. One is anishta nivritti, ishta prapti. What is anishta? Ajnana dukkha, that is anishta. Free from that. Ishta prapti, what is ishta? Moksha. What is that? Jnana ananda. What is our own genetic makeup, the conscious entity, each and every conscious entity, as the Vedanta describes, are made out of jnana and ananda. So that is what we are. We just want to experience that. But why doesn't it happen? It does not happen because we do not have the proper wisdom. Why do not we have the proper wisdom? Because our experience, we cannot perceive the past, we cannot perceive the future, we can only perceive the present. And if at all we want to communicate with the past and the distant space and distant time, the only way we have to go take refuge in rationality. But rationality is bounded, and also it's not just bounded, it's also sometimes it's straying, as the Upanishads very clearly say. The logic you cannot, the more intellectually capable you are, the logic is in your hands. So it's very difficult for you to judge what you should do and what you should not do. So then how you have to overcome this challenge? You have to go to Tesham Dukkha Prahanaya Shruti-resha Pravartate. You have to take the refuge in the literary texts such as canonical literature, Vedas and others. But those Vedas, sometimes they say you engage in knowledge more, wisdom more, because this action, it's very customary behaviors, etiquettes and protocols, ritualistic, religious rituals and so on. It's all binding in one way or the other. There is no way that we can escape this misery, because the Upanishads themselves say karmana badyate jantuhu vidyaya cha vimuchyate. So then the path of knowledge, the where I need to understand who am I and why the hell I am here, why I am suffering, why I am unable to get out of this. So to understand this, what I have to do is I have to know what is to be done. Okay, so because the action is, if I undertake a wrong action, then I will be bound here. Okay, it could be the spiritual judgments such as the soteriological judgments such as Naraka, Swarga or other afterlives or so on, or even the social one. Even here, if I undertaken a wrong action, then I am answerable to the legal system and so on. So what I am supposed to do? Yes, of course, there are certain prescriptive actions. Most of Indian philosophers have in the past, in the present, look at the Shastras as very deterministic in nature, one. And another thing is that it is also in one sense, it's always telling, it's prescriptive in nature. It is not giving you the autonomy of free will. Is it the case with the Shastra? I am actually deviating from the certain points that I have written, because already I have only 7 more minutes. So if I look at, if we look at Bhagavad Gita very carefully, it is also, we are all, many of us are faculty members, professors and so on. So what happens if we, teachers and all, parents also, when they train their children, when they teach their children and they underperform, they get on our nerves. Okay, we are unable to, even our own mates or the colleagues, when they don't do the work properly, we get on our nerves. Okay, everyone has gathered. Look at the beauty of the dichotomy of Karya and Akarya, how Krishna tackles this. So everyone, 7 Akshohini Sena has gathered, and it's just about to begin the battle. At that point of time, Arjuna is in the confusion whether I am supposed to fight or not. Is it Karya or Akarya? Am I supposed to do this or not? Now Krishna took, it's very difficult to believe that in the battlefield there was really scope for this kind of spiritual discussion, and nowhere Krishna directly responds to him. He takes almost 17 chapters of 650 verses to respond to Arjuna, and also not everything is spoken by him in those 650 verses. In this also, what Krishna at the end remarks is also very important aspect. So he says, it's a seed for epistemological thought. So what Krishna says is that look at how Krishna intertwines epistemology and ethics. So Krishna says, see, whatever I am supposed to tell, I have already told. Now you don't fight because I have told you. You have to engage in your action by yourself. You should not come later and tell me, because you told me. We do this in our work, in our school. Because you told me to do this, I didn't do this properly. If I had done by myself, I would have done it better. Krishna says, you don't do this to me. Okay, I am here to provide guidance, counseling. Undertaking it, I am a doctor. I will prescribe medicines. But if you, without acquiring MBBS, you want to go to the counter and tell them, no, 10 medicines I don't want, I only want 5 medicines. The applied ethics. If you want to do it in your own way, you do it. But the pala will be yours. You cannot come and question me tomorrow. So Krishna says, Vimarshaita dasheshena yatechasi tatakuru. You do the way you want. That, we would have, if our people had not performed better, we would have gotten a lot angry. But Krishna is not like that. He says, even if you want to take a call, go home, fine. But you have to take the right call. How can we take the call? Can our experience help us? Madhvacharya, interestingly, the Vedanta people, they all love literature, particularly Vedic literature. For them, Vedas is everything. But Madhvacharya says this in Vishnu Tattvanirnaya, Nacha anubhava virode agamasya pramanyam. If your ears are far away, distant from your eyes, then Agama is not Pramana. So Agama cannot, then what is that? Krishna told Shastram Pramanante Karya Vyavastita. Madhvacharya says Agama cannot be epistemological tool for judging certain things. Is Madhvacharya contradicting himself in other texts, or with Krishna, or with the entire Vedanta tradition? No. What he means by Anubhava here, in his Brahmasutra Bhashya, he clarifies, Shastrartha Yuktanubhava Pramanam Tuttamam Matam. The experience that is Yukta, logically validated. Okay, Yukta, Yukti Yukta Anubhava. Yukta Anubhava with the help of Shastrartha. So, you have to read your own school, other schools, and then come to a conclusion. Okay, you have to make that choice. You have to make that rational decision of the interpretation. And then you have to act or enact. So, Madhvacharya has elaborately, my colleague has to speak. So, Madhvacharya has elaborately spoke in 6 to 7 texts. The texts are Sadachara Smriti, Tantrasara Sangraha, Krishnamrita Maranava, Om Tat Sat Pranava Kalpa, and so on. In 7 texts, very voluminous works out of his 50 works. What he has done, he has given a detailed of all, like any other Vedanta scholar, what you are supposed to do, what you are not supposed to do. Shankaracharya has posed this very beautiful view in his Bhaja Govindam, says, Samprapte Sannite Kale Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukrinkarane. So you go behind linguistics, logic, philosophy of language and all, it's not going to help you out at the time when the time comes. So Madhva says, whatever you do, so he says that Dharmenejja sadhanani sadhayitva vidanatah snatva sampujayet vishnum vedanturukta margatah smritva sarvottamam vishnum swadhyayen archayet dharim dhyana pravachanabhyam va yata yogyam upasyatam. So he speaks about what Upanishad says, swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam tadvitapas tadvitapa. That is your action. But he says there is a bigger action than that. What is that? Is your moral social responsibility, not corporate social responsibility. That is for a business purpose. That's useless, to be honest. That's a charity run for namesake, just for behind their own names. It is individual social responsibility. It's public social responsibility. What Madhvacharya says, there are 2 things that for you, whatever you do, even you do for yourself or for others, you will be the one who will be reaping the fruits. Kurubungshocha karma nijam niyatam. He also says, very interestingly, Nana Janasya Shushrusha Karmeti Karavanmitehe Yogartinatu Sakarya. We are Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam. We are living in the house of the God. She has created the whole universe. Okay, Vishnu is the supreme being. He is not bound by gender. So he is Mohini, he is Narayana. He is not bound by anything. There is no gender barrier for him. That is why Vishnu Sahasranama starts with Vishwam, not with Vishnu. Okay, Vishwam Vishnu Vashatkaro. So he is neuter gender, he is masculine, there are no any kind of limitation in Vishnu. Now, what you have to do, you are living in his house, your action is that you have to pay taxes, rent, monthly rent. What is that? Nana Janasya Shushrusha. Tasya pranyupakarena santushto bhavatishvaraha. You help everyone. 15 minutes are over. I'll try to take 1 minute and then conclude it. Not conclude it, I'll pass it on. So, what Madhva says interestingly is that we all have this behavior. Padma Purana criticizes this behavior. So, how our ethics is, see, why we eat, I'm not offending anyone, we eat anything and everything, okay? But why we have not resorted to the cannibalistic practices? You know why? Because humans are very clever. If we start that, one day we will be on someone's table. So, to avoid that, what we have done, we do everything that is good for us, and whatever that is not good for us, we will either we will go to a coconut shop, ask them, what is this coconut? 15 rupees, okay, for house. What is this? 5 rupees coconut, then for temple. That's how our behavior is. When it comes to dana and all, that is what we do. Actually, what Padma Purana says is what the essence of Madhva's philosophy. Padma Purana says, Shruyatam dharma sarvasvam, Shrutva chaiva vedaryatam, Atmana pratikulani nakadapi paresham na samacharet. Dharma is that what you are going to do to yourself is what you have to do to the other. That is what is karya, that is what is karma. That karma is asakti karma. Asakti karma means you are not going. See, this is a very brilliant idea in what Krishna says is that don't focus on result, focus on action. Because if I focus on result, what I will do, I want to get this, I want to get this, I want to get this. I will focus on what I want, but how I will achieve that part I will forget. So focus on what you are supposed to do. The fruit will be by default. The moment your action is effective, the fruit will be by default. So the entire Vedanta tradition, particularly Madhva tradition, follows this Gita's philosophy and the entire Itihasa Purana category philosophy. What is, in Professor Panneerselvam's word, what is the categorical imperative, the Kantian term? The categorical imperative is that you follow Shastras after churning the Shastras, after ruminating the Shastras, and then you make that rational decision. That's why Krishna told you do what I have told everything, now it is up to you. That is what our action is. That is the ethical imperative, what we are supposed to do for ourselves, that is what we are supposed to do for the world. Not that we segregate ourselves, make it very self-centric and don't care about the world. That is the Akarya, and this is the Karya. Now I invite my colleague Vidwan Vishnuvardhan from Manipal University to speak the method of the imperative action. Welcome.
श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम्। पीठे विराजमानान् श्रीपादान् भक्त्या शिरसा नमस्कृत्य यत्किञ्चित् मम वाक्व्यापारं कर्मार्पणं कार्यम् अन्यत् अकार्यम् इत्य विषयमुद्दिश्य यत्किञ्चित् मम वाग्व्यापारं कर्तुम् उत्सहे। आचार्यमध्वेन तथा कृष्णेन च उक्तं यत्करोषि यदश्नासि यज्जुहोसि ददासि यत् यत् तपस्यसि कौन्तेय तत्कुरुष्व मदर्पणम्। कृष्णार्पणधिया कर्म तावत् करणीयम्। तदेव परमो धर्मः। यत् परमो धर्मः तदेव कार्यः। परमधर्म एव कार्यः। परमधर्मत्वेन तत्र कर्मार्पणं हि अभिहितं। कुतः कर्मार्पणं परमधर्मत्वेन अभिहितम् इति चेत् यदि कर्मार्पणं न क्रियते तर्हि वयं कर्मेण बद्धो अभूवं। कथं? तत्तु वैषम्यनैर्घृण्यादिकरणे बादरायणेन परम्परया कर्मस्वरूपं निरूपितं। तेन जानीमो वयं एता कर्मस्वरूपस्तु एवं वर्तते, तन्निवृत्तिस्तु अस्माभिः कथं करणीयमिति आचार्येण। वैषम्यनैर्घृण्यादिकरणे तावत् वैषम्यनैर्घृण्ये न सापेक्षत्वात् तथा हि दर्शयति इति सूत्रं। तत्र पूर्वपक्षस्तु एवं वर्तते, कुतः ईश्वरः लोके कांश्चन जनान् दुःखान् अनुभवयति, कांश्चनान् सुखान्, कांश्चनान् आगर्भ्य श्रीमतः करोति, कांश्चनान् अकिञ्चनः करोति। कुतः एवं क्रियते? कुतः एवं क्रियते भगवता ईश्वरेण? एतादृशकरणे नियामकम् अस्ति न वा? विना नियामकं नास्ति चेत् सः विषमः निर्घृणः। विषमः इति चेत् पक्षपाती भवति, निर्घृणस्तु करुणारहितः निर्घृणः स्यात्। कुतः इत्यत्र विमर्शः तावत् एवमेव जायते। कांश्चन सुखान् विना कारणेन कुतः करणीयं, कांश्चनान् आगर्भः श्रीमतः कुतः करणीयम् इत्यत्र नियामकं नो चेत् सः पक्षपाती स्यात्। तर्हि नियामकमस्ति तत्र किं तत् कर्म एव नियामकः। तत्र कर्मापेक्षया सः अन्यान् कांश्चनान् दुःखयति, अन्यान् सुखयिष्यति, एवमेव कर्मनिवृत्तीकृत्यैव सः एवं करोति चेत् तदा भगवान् स्वतन्त्रो न स्यात्, सः स्वतन्त्रो न स्यात् इति आक्षेपश्चेत् तर्हि ईश्वरः कर्मादीनपेक्षैव फलं ददाति इति सिद्धान्तः। कर्मादीनपेक्ष्य सः क्रियते चेत् तर्हि तस्य स्वातन्त्र्यं भग्नं खलु इति चेत् तत्र दृष्टान्तस्तावत् एवं वर्तते। यथा अन्य औषधिदानसमर्थोपि वैद्यः रोगमपेक्षैव औषधिं ददाति, तेन ज्ञायते तस्य स्वातन्त्र्यं तावत् अन्य औषधिदानसमर्थोपि सः किं क्रियते, रोगमपेक्षैव क्रियते। तद्वत् अन्यफलदानसमर्थोपि भगवान् फलमपेक्षैव तस्य फलं ददाति इति तद्वत् इति। परन्तु तत्र कर्मस्वरूपं तावत् विस्तृतं बादरायणेन वैषम्यनैर्घृण्ये इत्यनेन वैषम्यनैर्घृण्ये इति पूर्वपक्षश्चेत् न सापेक्षत्वात् कर्मसापेक्षैव ददाति। तत्र कर्मस्वरूपस्तु एवं वर्तते। कर्मणः अनादित्वं नाम कर्मस्तावत् अनादिभूतं कर्मं निमित्तीकृत्यैव फलं ददाति। कर्मणः अनादित्वं नाम प्रवाहतः अनादित्वं तत्र अभिहितम्। एतद्देशे एतत्काले अनुभूयमानकर्मणः पूर्वजन्मकृतं कर्मकारणं भवति। एवमेव एतत्काले अनुभूयमान सुखदुःखयोः पूर्वकर्माधीनत्वं, तत्पूर्वकर्म ईश्वराधीनं न वा, नो चेत् स न स्वतन्त्रः। तदधीनं चेत् तर्हि स्वाधीनकर्मणा सुखदुःखं फलं ददाति इति पुनः विषमः निर्गुणः एव सः। किञ्च पूर्वजन्मकृतकर्मणोपि तत्पूर्वकर्म कारणमुच्यते चेत् पूर्वकर्मणोपि तत्पूर्वकर्मणाम् इति आदिवं कर्मं कारणं भवति। तदाद्यकर्म भगवदधीनं न वा। एतादृश कर्म शब्देन तावत् कर्मस्तावत् एतादृश कर्मसङ्कुलस्तावत् बहु विस्तृतः इति ज्ञानं भवति। कथं तर्हि कर्मम् आचरणीयं वा न वा, कर्मकार्यं न वा इति तावत् संशयः अस्माकं मनसि वर्तते। तदा कर्मस्तावत् करणीयम्। उपनिषत् वाक्यस्तावत् एवं वर्तते, कुर्वन्नेवेह कर्माणि जिजीविषे शतं समाः एवं त्वयि नान्यते तोस्ति न कर्म लिप्यते नरे, अकुर्वतः कर्म लिप्यते इति नास्ति। कर्मस्तावत् करणीयमेव। तर्हि यदि अहं कर्म करोमि, कर्मपाशेन बद्धो स्यां, कथं तर्हि विमोचकः, कथं तर्हि कर्मेण मुक्तः स्यामहम् इति चेत् तदुपायस्तु श्रीमदाचार्येण उक्तम्, अक्षयं कर्म यस्मिन् परे स्वर्पितं प्रक्षयं यान्ति, दुःखानि यन्नामतः अक्षरो योजरः सर्वदेवामृतः, कुक्षिगं यस्य विश्वं सदा जादिकं, प्रीणयामो वासुदेवं देवतामण्डलाखण्डमण्डनम्। वी हैव कर्म अर्पणस्तावत् भगवद् प्रीत्यर्थं कार्यं, भगवत्प्रीत्यर्थं क्रियते चेत् तदा कर्मलेपः न भवति। वयं कर्मबद्धः न भूभुवम् इति उक्त्वा मम वाग्व्यापारात् विरमामि। श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु।
Thank you very much for those two presentations. My good friend Srinivasa Acharya, I have heard him even earlier, spoke about Madhva's take on the Karya Akarya debate. Atmana Pratikulani Pare no Samachari. And his young friend who spoke in Sanskrit, lovely. I disliked so much to stop you, but nevertheless, who again spoke on the beautiful debate that exists whether God is free or none, or whether he is partial, or this debate, how Indian responds for that. Thank you very much for these two presentations. Can we have a discussion?
How do we escape is that it is just what Krishna has already spoken. So if we look at the whole Sarvamula text, today in academic practice that's something like we have to cite people, the citation, references and all. If we look at most of the Indian philosophers and particularly Madhvacharya, he is full of citations. So he would be citing whatever he says, he will make a point and cite Krishna. So Krishna has explicitly told how does karma does not bind us. It does not bind us only when we are not obsessed with the fruit of it. We are not doing for the part of that we would be getting something out of it. We should not do that. That is what they are calling it asanga or asakti. That is one way of escaping it. Another way of escaping it, that is only possible. The asanga is only possible if we have to get out of that. It is only possible if we have proper wisdom. What we are engaging, what happens is that most of the religious rituals and all, even I do, every day morning I do. But I have taken this oath of like avaseva, pravaseva, sarvavastangato japes. Whatever, wherever I am, I'll be traveling, doing something, I'll do the mantra. It's actually a namesake, nominal doing. It's just I'm doing it for the sake of it. That should not be the case of doing mantra. Every mantra, the way it has to be pronounced, is like it's not a, it's like a 9-month-old pregnant lady walking. What would be the pace? That should be the pace of the mantra ucharana. And even the karma, karana, the act also should be that slow. Because that is like if you are eating a good, here we are in Tamil Nadu, so Chennai, my hometown, the best place for the South Indian food. If we are eating it, we have to relish it, every bit of it. We have to savor it. Like that our actions have to be. That is not the case with our actions. Even our office duty, professional, personal, spiritual, all the duties that we take are just we are doing it, we just want to finish it. Even this conference, we just want to finish and then look at the time, go out, look at the tea break. This is what binds us. If we are doing it with our utmost dedication, commitment, devotion, we will be able to overcome the problems of the bondage of the karma. That's the Madhva's response. Okay, very interesting question. I could not delve much upon the metaphysical status of the imperative. I took certain things for granted. They are intertwined. Like Krishna says, Mai sarvam idam protam sutre maniganaya. Everything is intertwined here. It's very hard to distinguish what is the metaphysical aspect of it and what is the ethical aspect of it. Because the karma itself is a metaphysical category. Though it asks us to take an ethical attitude. It is asking us to have an ethical attitude, but itself is a metaphysical category. Yeah, society itself, there are philosophers. Philosophers are the worst kind of people. So if you ask them what is society, they will go to certain different debates, Cartesian debates and all. Finally, it will come to the society itself is a metaphysical category. So there is nothing that is not metaphysical in this universe.
Because when we talk about the Acharya, it is really life and death, and only 5 or 7 survivors are kept. So maybe you can identify.
Yeah, so there is this, most of the non-Indian thinkers, not just Western, other parts of the world, so they have this some sort of argument against Indian schools of thought is that it's always metaphysical, it's always something spiritual, it does not have any relevance to the everyday society. That's not the case. Example that you gave about the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata war. Mahabharata war is not the story or a history of some warring cousins died 2000 years ago and all. It's a story of us. Like I am at a certain times I might have multiple personality disorder, not an onion movie, but so I might behave like a Duryodhana for a second. I might behave like a Karna. One good example about Karna, most people think Karna is an amazing character and there are a lot of books about it. But what they forget about Karna is that it's very important for us to realize what we are in this world when we have to act, what we are supposed to do. So Karna represents this very interesting character. Duryodhana relied upon Karna for everything. That whole battle, Duryodhana's plan was based on Karna. But that fellow, just because the day before he got insulted, for the first out of the 18 days, 60% absent. So 10 days he was not at all in the battlefield. This speaks about how if we also do this many a times. Our ego, sometimes we are celebrated, appreciated, sometimes we are not. So we just get immersed in ourselves. So each and every aspect of Mahabharata battle and this Shastrartha and all, it's not only, it's also speaking about the spiritual world, which is very much important, but at the same time it's also directly communicating to the social world. In that way, what Habermas has spoken about the communicative action in his public sphere debates, it also is very much applicable to our vernacular behavior. So in that sense, Indian philosophy and culture is also very much relevant to the social needs. I hope I answered.
Very interesting. And this defectation of Karna also.
See, thinking is, for example, Manana, I need to employ my psychological asset ontological asset that I have to employ it on doing something. So I'll just deviate a bit and then answer with this question so that it might, so Pandavas were having this debate, which is the greatest meaning of life, Purushartha. So Yudhishthira obviously will say Dharma. Arjuna, he was the finance minister in Yudhishthira's portfolio, he said Artha. And Nakula Sahadeva, they said Moksha. Bhima said desire. Kama is the greatest Purushartha. Then they all questioned, why Kama? Then Bhima answered, Kama is the greatest Purushartha because everyone wants to do something. Do you want Dharma to do? Then that is also a want, desire. You want Artha? That is also a want, desire. You want Moksha? That is also a want, desire. So Kama is the greatest Purushartha. Yudhishthira replied, no, Kama is not the greatest Purushartha. Why? Because I don't want anything. Krishna suddenly jumped and replied, you don't want anything is also a want. So similarly, I hope this itself answers in your case. Even thinking is also, I'm doing something. So that is also an action.
What is akarma according to Dvaita? Like we know the Shankarite interpretation of akarma. What is Dvaitic?
So karma is the appropriate imperative action. Vikarma is the opposite one. Akarma is completely inaction, not participating it at all. This is one interpretation of akarma. Non-participating, non-doing anything. But Krishna has already critiqued it. It's impossible for people, nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krita. But it's not possible. What actually here it means, it's even though there is a certain complication, I am unable to remember the term here. So there are two ways of looking at akarma. One is the way Madhva connects everything to Adhyatma. So Kapali Shastri also wrote about Madhva, Vedana, Adhyatma, Paratana, Stiti, Konama, Brute, Madhva, Bhasheshu, Jagratsu. So A is Brahma, Aha iti Brahma. So Brahma's karma, not our karma. Okay. So it is Brahma is the one who does everything. That is what Karamanya Karmaya Paschet Akarmanica Karmayaha is. I don't, that is what even in 5th chapter, when Nadat Nakartratvam nakarmani lokasya srijati prabhu nakarma palasanyogam svabhavastu pravartate. So here also nakarmani nakartratvam srijati lokasya srijati means it is not that we are doing, it's not our agency alone. That is what in 18th chapter also Krishna clarified by adhishtanam tata karta karanancha pratakvedam panchaitani nibodhame. So in that sense, this is one way of responding to the question I assume.
Oh, thank you. Just 2 points. The first point being what you hinted that the action of the Bhagavad Gita is also internal and psychological. Now Gandhiji made this point, he believed it because it was his favorite text and everyone said, but this is a text that incites you to violence. He says, no, I don't look at it like that. The war is internal, and the Kauravas and the Pandavas are tendencies inside the human being. Each one of us has these tendencies. But the first person to do this was actually Abhinavgupta. He's the one who said that there's no war out there, and these are all internal tussles that are going on a daily basis. So this is one footnote, and the person who's done a work on Abhinavgupta's commentary on the Gita is Dr. Arvind Sharma. That was his PhD at Harvard. So that's one comment. The second comment about karma, vikarma and akarma, chapter 4 of the Gita, I think the very interesting take on it is by Vinoba Bhave in his commentary. I think Godavari Sharmaji is going to speak on it maybe tomorrow. But Vinoba has a completely different understanding of vikarma. For him, vikarma is not prohibited action or contrary action, but vikarma is that transformative, you might say dialectical opposite of karma, which is binding, which cuts karma so that you become free of karma, which is what he considers akarma. So he says that karma yoga, if practiced properly, leads to akarma, where there's zero accumulation of karma, total freedom and happiness and spontaneous and perfect action. Thank you. Just two comments.